Hello everyone, welcome to this week's GT Sport Daily Race C Strategy Guide. It's week number 4, so it is. Races starting on the 25th of January. We're heading to sunny USA WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway, and we are in the Group 4 cars. So here's the settings for this one. We've got 13 laps to get round, fuel consumption at times 2, tyre wear at times 6, and unfortunately we only have the medium tyres available. Now it's good that it's the medium tyres, not the hard tyres, but the fact we've only got one type of tyre is a little bit of an issue, which we will touch on in just a moment. But first, before we get to that, let's do the usual flyover of the circuit. The world famous WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway. I think it's in California, most famous for the corner we're just about to approach now, of course the fearsome corkscrew, the downhill left and then right, before finishing with a tricky left-hander onto the main straight. So as I said, the problem with only having the medium tyres in this one and not a couple of different tyres and some mandatory tyres is the pit stop. Now, long-time players will be very well aware of what I'm about to go through here, but if you're a bit newer to the game, then this is the issue here. So as we head into the pit lane, we're only 7 tenths behind P1 and P2, and you're going to see how much time we lose in a pit stop. Now, in most cases here, or most pit stops in Gran Turismo, the car's in the box by this time, probably had the tyres changed and on its way out the pits. But as we approach 15 seconds, 16 seconds, still no sign of the car coming into the pit box. Eventually it appears, but it's over 20 seconds before it's stationary. It takes a further 6 seconds to then change those tyres, and eventually we are on our way back off down the pit lane. Now, we were only 7 tenths when we came into the pits behind the leader, and now we're 18.2 seconds. So we have lost over 17 seconds in the pit lane with that stop, and in reality, against the other actual players and not the AI, you'll lose a further 2 seconds. The AI are very slow around the corners that straddle the pit lane, so it's not quite representative. I believe the pit loss is actually closer to 19 seconds. So with that in mind, there really is no point in me testing a one-stop strategy. We are bookmarked into the no-stopper here. There is no choice but to do it. Yes, the tyres are pretty second-hand towards the end of the race with the no-stopper, and with the fresh tyres you probably gain maybe even around about 10 seconds back with the fresh tyres, but that's not 19 seconds, it's not even close. It's not even worth my time testing that one-stop strategy. So for the video, rather than kind of just wasting your time watching me do strategies that don't really mean anything, I have decided to sort of take a slightly different route with this one and just test a wide variety of cars over the no-stopper, give you an idea how certain different categories of car within the Group 4 class are performing in terms of tyre wear, and give you a bit of a step for a hint as into what cars are going to be competitive, what types of car are going to be competitive, and the biggest question of all, is it going to be an FF Fest? So first up, we're in the Jaguar here. We're at the halfway point, halfway through lap 7, just to give you an idea how the tyres perform. Now, the Jaguar is probably not a strong car for this track because Laguna Seca is very much a handling track. So with that in mind, it really isn't going to be that nimble round here. Very stable, very reliable car, which is quite an advantage, I suppose, as those tyres wear. You can trust the Jaguar not to do anything too stupid, catch you out too much, but it's not quite got the handling that's required to get through some of the twisty sections. So it's a little bit off in lap time compared to some of the cars we're going to look at later on in the video. Now, I did want to include this little incident with the AI car on the last lap, just to kind of show the reason why I'm going to subtract 2 seconds of the finishing time for the Jaguar. That was us lapping a Group 3 car. Now, the AI is just so unbelievably slow around Laguna Seca that I'm lapping a Group 3 car and a Group 4 car. But into the last corner we come here. Very tricky corner, gets trickier and trickier as the race goes on, as those tyres wear. Now, the tyre wear is pretty bad, as you can see, but in terms of lap time we've only dropped off by about 8 tenths over the course of the race, with the fuel burning off as well, of course. And the finishing time for the Jaguar, 19 minutes 26.6. We'll take 2 seconds off that and we call it 19 minutes 24.6 for the Jaguar F-Type. Next up, we rolled out in the Porsche Cayman. That's our car from the MR category that we're testing. Brake balance set at +3 because we need to look after those front tyres. With it being a handling circuit, you do need to have a good front end. The Porsche Cayman has a very good front end anyway. It handles superbly around this track, and the gearing is very interesting as well. You don't have to change gear that much. You can do the vast majority of the lap in third gear. Just got to be a little bit careful. It can be very slightly oversteery. but it's very controllable, and once you get used to it, you can kind of use that to get the front end of the car into the corners a little bit neater than the Jaguar. In terms of lap time, it was definitely quicker over the sort of opening laps than the Jaguar, and kind of maintained that sort of advantage right through towards the end. And as we come into the last corner here, we're on lap 13 now. We'll come out here, we'll get across the finish line, and we'll see what kind of finishing time we've managed to muster compared to the Jaguar. Now if you're looking down in the bottom left hand corner, you should already be able to see that it is considerably quicker. The Jaguar was 19 minutes at 24.6, the Porsche Cayman coming in with 19 minutes at 20.2, so 4.4 seconds quicker for the Porsche Cayman over the Jaguar, which is maybe not surprising. You would expect an MR car to perform pretty well around here against a sort of heavy FR car like the Jaguar. Next up, we took out the Subaru WRX. This car is going to represent our category of the four-wheel drive cars. Brake balance set at +5 just to try and look after those front tyres once again. And this car did surprise me. Whereas the Porsche Cayman felt very quick around the track and then produced quick lap times, the WRX felt very slow but produced quick lap times. So over laps 2 and 3 they're actually quicker than the Cayman, but once that tyre wear starts to kick in at the front, as you can see here as we jump to the end of lap number 13, those front tyres have taken a bit of a beating. The lap times do start to deteriorate, not dramatically so, but enough to kind of start making us a little bit slower than the Cayman at this stage of the race. Into the last corner we come here, we'll get the blast down to the finish line, we'll see how this is going to compare to the two previous cars. Doesn't look like it's going to beat the Cayman, but it does look like it will finish ahead of the Jaguar. It's going to finish there, I think it's 19 minutes 22 something. Just that time will come up there. There we go, 19 minutes at 22.1, so a couple of seconds slower than the Cayman, but a couple of seconds quicker than the Jaguar. But this is the car we've all been waiting to see what the result of this one is going to be. We're in the Audi TT. Brake balance at +5, of course, got to look after those front tyres. And here is the upshot of the Audi TT. It's quick, it's very quick. That lap time there on lap number 2 is easily the quickest lap I've done out of any of the 4 cars we've tested. But can it maintain that pace throughout the race distance? We know those front tyres are going to start going off. Will it be able to kind of keep enough pace? Does it have enough pace in hand that it's able to sort of be the quickest out of the 4 cars we've tested? So we'll jump forward here to lap number 7. This is of course, well, lap number 8, sorry. This is around about the midpoint. You can see the lap times have dropped off by around about a second at this point. A little bit of tyre wear on the front there, so just can't quite get the same drive out the corners or the same grip in the corners, I suppose. Obviously the Audi TT being an FF car, the front wheel are doing the acceleration as well as the turning, so as that tyre wear kicks in you start to lose a little bit of acceleration, and that's where the Audi TT does tend to excel, or the FF cars tend to excel. They've got so much sort of torque out the corners, and that's why they're so quick over a single lap with no tyre wear. But as we sort of jump forward here to lap number 13, you can see those lap times after lap number 10 have started to deteriorate pretty quickly. They were actually going considerably slower than the other 3 cars over the last 3 laps. Now, is that going to be detrimental to the sort of overall finishing time? Where's it going to come in comparison to the other 3 cars we've tested? And it's a 19 minutes 23.9, so just fractionally faster than the Jaguar and slower than both the Cayman and the WRX. So interesting stuff indeed, I think you will agree. Let's kind of bring up all the data up on the screen and talk through the pros and cons and how I think this one is going to work out in terms of cars. So the good news is I don't think this one is going to be an Audi TT fest in race trim anyway. In qualifying I think it will be probably the car to pick. It looks like it by going by the base laps there, considerably quicker than anything else over that first flying lap when it's still got the grip in the tyres. But the way the tyres work in this, its tyre wear is too bad towards the end that it is considerably slower than every other car by the last 3 laps. So I think you're going to see a lot of people in the Audi TT initially, and then they're going to be dying a slow and painful death over the last third of the race, and that's going to cause issues because there's going to be other cars coming through. It's a tight and twisty circuit to try and overtake on. You know what Audi TT drivers are like, they certainly don't like to give you a whole lot of space, but it should make for an interesting and fun race in the end. The car that I'm going to be trying out myself, because going by the data it looks like the best one to pick, is the Porsche Cayman. It's coming in 2 seconds quicker than any other car there, nearly 4 seconds quicker than the Audi TT. It doesn't have the outright pace of some of the other cars, both the Subaru and the Audi setting quicker initial lap times, but it just seems to enjoy much better sort of tyre wear in terms of being very balanced over the 4 tyres. So I think it's an interesting race. I think there could be lots of competitive cars in this one over the course of the race. Different cars having different strengths in different stages of the race. It all sort of adds up to a fairly nice recipe. Just a shame there's no strategy in it, but I guess if there's strategy in it, it would just become an Audi TT fest. So maybe for once we just have to give PD a little bit of credit by making this one a no-stopper. It kind of negates the Audi TT's significant advantage. So, well, definitely something to consider. Okay then, let's finish off the video on board a lap with the Audi TT, the fastest lap that we set over the course of the testing. Coming through the curve of turn number 1 here, on the run down to turns number 2 and 3, braking at the 3 marker, keep a nice tight line into turn number 1, try to clip both apexes if you can, on the power rails you can, use all the track on the exit. You're looking for just after board number 2 here into turn number 4, avoid the sausage curb on the entry, use all the track on the exit. Just coming off the throttle and throwing the car in at the end of the curb, avoid the sausage there into turn number 5, and we've got turn number 6 ahead. I think we're looking for the number 2 marker here. Again, it's the same thing, clip the apex, avoid the sausage, use all the track on the exit, and we're coming up to one of the hardest corners in the game here. So I think it's the second board. You're just going to be looking to throw the car in here off the throttle, try and definitely don't run wide because you will end your race at that point, and we're now heading towards the corkscrew. Braking just as the track starts to go dark, watch out for the back end squirreling here, cut a little bit of the corner there, cut a little bit of the corner there, take a nice wide exit, nice wide entry into this turn here, again avoid the sausage, easy to drift wide there, and again you're just looking to always kind of, don't try to brake too late into a lot of these corners, it will bite you in the bum if you do that. Braking on the first board, I think it's a number 3, you can clip the sausage into the last corner in the Audi TT anyway, it won't upset the car too much. And that's a lap of Laguna Seca Raceway in the Audi TT. And that is the end of the strategy guide. A little bit different this one because there really was no strategy in it. I didn't waste my time trying to kind of make the strategy sound a little bit more interesting than it is. Instead we just decided to test out a variety of cars. So hopefully it's been useful and helpful. Help you get started before this race gets underway. It gives you a little bit of a head start and you're not going in blind. I think it should be a fairly interesting race at the end of the day. Just the way things are going to work out with the tyres and the different cars having different strengths at different parts of the race. We'll certainly be doing a bit of racing on this one. The new PC arrives on Tuesday. I'm going to get the stream set up for Friday, and we might go a little bit ham and stream Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you can maybe join me for one of them, it would be hugely appreciated, and hopefully I'll see you there. But all I've got to say now is hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye now.